This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. The participants are Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, political analyst, and AIR special correspondent Mattu J.P. Singh.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today launched Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan to boost employment and livelihood opportunities for migrant workers returning to villages in the wake of COVID-19 outbreak. As Prime Minister himself said, a historic day for the welfare of poor. Shubhamoy, so we see final plan of action here.
This was something that was in the works for quite some time, and it's good that it has come now. The reason for that is when the migrants were moving, at that time, if they had tried to do anything, the problem would have been of targeting. Because unless the people return to their villages, wherever they are staying, it would have been difficult. The finance minister, a couple of days ago, she said that they have identified 116 districts where there has been the maximum migration. Now, that sort of data wouldn't have been possible to get unless the migrants had reached the places and a comparative data set had been created.
The program focuses on durable rural infrastructure and providing modern facilities like internet in the villages with an outlay of 50,000 crore rupees, and its focus is on 116 districts, as you already mentioned, of 6 states. And as we have been discussing in our programs, the incoming migrants have to be given jobs along with those already there.
What happens in many of our health programs, this is something that anybody else would always find. One of the major criticism has been that while the government at the center and at the state try several programs to help in the lower income groups to access benefits, A, as support programs, B, as employment generation programs, the problem that comes along is that there are too many of those. And each of those require the people to, first of all, get listed, to be able to be enumerated. There's a lot of paperwork that goes along. And that doesn't really help. The good thing about the Garib Kalyan Abhiyan, which the Prime Minister has launched today, is that you can see that it's a convergent effort between 12 ministries. These are rural development, Panchayati Raj, road transport, mines, drinking water and sanitation, environment. You can go on. But basically what they do is that they all come together. So first of all, what do? They don't repeat. So it doesn't happen that one person may be in several programs and another person may not be in any of the programs, simply because the listing is not proper. And that is very necessary because a lot of the money, while it was being targeted, was not getting suitably retargeted to people because of this overlap between programs. And that is something that historically, for lots of reasons, ministries have been reluctant to share their lists. There have been problems in terms of understanding whom to reach, who has already been covered, and who needs to be covered. Those gaps will now hopefully be sort of made good.
This program emphasizes on skill mapping. Now, skill mapping of the rural migrant labour so that labourers can get work closer home. In this, we have seen 25 activities which have been defined that can be taken up immediately. How do you think this skill mapping will be done?
The first point is to get to know who are the people who are being addressed. This is actually something which is very important because often government programs, when you try to do skill mapping, if you do not know who's the target, then you can't map the skill. It can't be that people of a particular village are given a particular skill without realizing that whether the village has the ability to do that skill or whether the village is more competent to do something else. So when the programs come together, then skill mapping becomes easier. That which sort of people are there in which sort of villages and what are the technical abilities. The Prime Minister, for instance, talked regularly about the fact that talent has come back to the villages. There's a reason for that. Because what happens is that this talent is often not understood very well across government departments. And as a result, programs end up spending a lot of money, but they don't spend it effectively. What it is trying to do right now is to understand who are the people in any particular place and accordingly map them on the skill network to be able to provide them the right sort of employment. That's, I think, quite a smart way of going about it. It will take time, but this is very necessary.
The project will also be implemented, Shubhamoy, in a mission mode campaign in 125 days in 116 districts of 6 states. So how will the coordination effort be synergized to achieve this target?
Essentially, what it means, let's understand that the the sort of activities that are listed here, activities like construction of community sanitation centers, construction of panchayat bhavans, construction of national highways, water conservation, wells, plantation work, horticulture, poultry sheds, work under the BharatNet, the Campa plantation, which is the environment plantation, the PM Urja Ganga project. You can see that all of these programs come across different ministries. The ministries are big and small. And what happens is that often the ministries do not have the ability to rope in the right type of people from different places. When the listing, and that is where the word of this mission mode comes in, comes together, then what happens is there are only very few ministries which are given the task of picking up the people. The other ministries give the task. For instance, a ministry might say that I want to have construction of, say, 2,000 poultry sheds. It's not the job of that ministry to be able to also decide that which villages and where it should be done and how it should be done, because that ministry may not be competent. So that is, for instance, the work of the Rural Development Ministry, which, for instance, understands the workers in different places because it has got an outreach that is not available with other ministries. So, the different ministries sort of encourage and give each other the support in what they are good at, rather than trying to do everything from A to Z alone. That just leads to a fair amount of loss of effort, and often the programs don't deliver. One of the most important things changes that has happened, that instead of trying to announce too many new programs, the government is saying, hey, no, I've got the programs are all fine. I will simply ensure that the programs are put to where the people are and map them, the skill mapping as we are talking about, and also do it across ministries. So therefore, the employment is maximized and the efficiency of money that is spent is made suitably useful. That's, I think, theme of the Garib Kalyan Abhiyan.
During the program, the Prime Minister inquired from some of the migrants their current state of employment and also whether the various welfare schemes launched during the lockdown period were available to them. He also expressed satisfaction after his interaction and pointed out that how rural India stood its ground in the fight against COVID-19 and how it is providing an inspiration to the whole country and the world in this moment of crisis. Shubhamoy, how do you look at it? The rural countryside has proven to be far more efficient in containing COVID-19 than in urban areas.
That, these are early days, and we'll have to see how far this is happening for us to really say that this part of the country did well or that part of the country didn't do all that well. Cities obviously will have much more COVID impact because they are densely packed, whereas the rural area is not densely packed. So there is more chance for people to take safe themselves. The more interesting thing is that what you see is that the rural economy, a lot of interesting stuff is happening. For instance, if you notice, the government has recently launched a lot of reform in Essential Commodities Act, in Agricultural Produce Marketing Committee Act, and these are the changes that is essentially leading to a feel that the agricultural sector, which has been suppressed so far, would be able to contribute much more substantially to the entire economy than what it had been able to do. Then you get the corresponding benefits start multiplying.
As you just mentioned, the Prime Minister also had said that self-reliant Atmanirbhar farmers are equally essential for a self-reliant India. So he said major steps have been taken by removing various shackles, as you just mentioned. How do you see that the farmer will now connect directly with the traders who offer a better price for his produce?
That's what we shall be looking forward to. It's a big challenge because, there's a lot of vested interests which ensure that doesn't happen. And the fact that it's not happened after so many decades does show that the challenge is very heavy. It is quite something significant for the agricultural sector if it can really make that connection from the farm to the fork, as they say. What does it mean? It means essentially that whatever is being produced from the farmers reach as few a middlemen as possible to the ultimate consumer.
If we talk now about the Jan Dhan accounts, Prime Minister also mentioned about more than 10,000 crore rupees being transferred to 20 crore women Jan Dhan account. So what is the role being played by these accounts in providing the last mile connectivity and making the systems more transparent and smooth?
Jan Dhan accounts are the biggest banking network expansion done by any country anywhere in the world at any time. It's awesome in terms of its scale. And that is the big thing about Jan Dhan account. The fact that the poorest can also open a bank account, that many countries have still not been able to get that part of the financial inclusion properly working. You mentioned about the women getting the monthly 500 rupees support, disabled getting the support. It is the linchpin of practically most of government programs that's reaching out to anyone, anywhere in India. It has been the basic plumbing to ensure the success of government programs. So therefore, the Jan Dhan experiment success has been one of the most major things to have happened in India in the recent years.
Shubho, as you had just mentioned earlier, that the Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan will be a convergent effort between 12 different ministries and departments, namely rural development, Panchayati Raj, road transport, to name a few. So how will this program prepare for expansion and development of livelihoods over a longer term?
Basically, the point is that the ministries themselves are yet still not working interconnectedly. You don't get to see in any government note that the ministries have actually reached out to each other to try to ensure that their programs reach the other ministries. And yet we all know that there are so many ministries who are not very good at, obviously because of their nature of the work. They are not the ones who can reach out to the rural India. First of all, let us start establishing the connection. Let's start ensuring that the ministries ensure that they are comfortable with other ministries doing the hand-holding for them in terms of taking the reach of their programs to where it is necessary. Once this happens, and this will take time because this is going to have to be new, it's only then that, we can think of further building up. Like the Jan Dhan account advantage didn't just happen in one day. It took time for the networks to expand, for the banks to understand what it means to create the sort of no-frills account. And it's only then the success of the Jan Dhan accounts was assured. Similarly, now when we have these 12 ministries coming together to provide the 25 programs, it will need a lot of understanding among the officers. And this is where a lot of what I might call silo breaking would be necessary, because departments in a particular work closely will have to work with the state governments. Some changes have already happened, if noticed. For instance, last year's and year before, the government has started a major program on water sanitation, water bodies creation in different states. And for that, the state government has actually brought in about 2,000 officers from different ministries to work on water rejuvenation. It's a very significant process because many of these officers were not at all connected with water issues. They came from all through the ministry, but they were all given a target over 3 months by the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, in fact now the Jal Shakti Ministry, to create suitable water bodies for that can be replicated. So it is something that has been started, and it is a novel gesture. It took time to create those, what I call the Prabhari officers. And these Prabhari officers had to take the responsibility of visiting the villages where they had been assigned, along with corresponding officers from the state government, to create the assets. Those assets are being created over the last, it started the year before. The last year was actually the very major expansion. This year, because of the obvious impact of the pandemic, that work has gone into the backfield. But it has created the understanding among officers that this is how it has to be delivered. So now we shall see that the officers, again, across different departments, starting to understand how the other departments function and tailoring their response accordingly. It's just not about sort of saying that I have done my bit and push on to something else. You have to sort of coordinate with others to ensure that the results flow through for whom it's meant, in this case, the workers in the villages.
Thank you, Shubhamoy, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. The participants were Shubhamoy Bhattacharjee, political analyst, and AIR special correspondent Mattu J.P. Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.